What should you eat before and after a workout? There's a lot of conflicting advice on this topic because reality is there is no one right way to do things. So why would you listen to me? Well, I do have a sports nutrition qualification and over 10 years experience working as a nutrition coach, so I have a really good idea as to how this plays out in real life. And today I am going to draw on research and recommendations from experts like Alan Aragon, Layne Norton, and Gabrielle Lyon so that you get the most up-to-date information as possible. But always remember there is a difference between research and real life. So if something is currently working for you, then there's no need to change it. But if you want to optimize things, then this video will be helpful. And if you start to feel a bit overwhelmed and confused during the video, don't worry, because at the end of it, I'm going to bring it all together for you with some really simple guidelines. Now today, I'm mainly talking about eating around your weight training workouts. And when it comes to nutrition before your weight training workout, you have two goals. The first is to eat enough so that you have the energy to fuel that workout so you can push hard while you're training. And second of all, you want to prime your muscles with the amino acids and nutrients they need so that they can repair and grow from that workout. And just because we're talking about muscles today doesn't mean you're going to get big and bulky. To do that, you would need a whole different strategy with your nutrition. This is about preserving your lean mass, helping you grow a bit of muscle and strength if that's your goal, and just ensuring that overall you have a optimal hormonal balance. So when it comes to nutrition for weight training, the first thing we focus on is protein. And your overall daily protein intake is more important than how you distribute it throughout the day. So the first thing you need to do is make sure you're getting enough protein in a day. Roughly 1 gram per pound of your ideal body weight. For most women, that's going to be about 120 to 140 grams per day. However, if you're interested in maximizing your gains and getting the most out of your workouts, how you distribute those meals and the protein becomes more important. So your overall protein is like the cake, and how you distribute the protein is like the icing on the cake. It's what's going to give you that little extra edge. And as far as research goes, it suggests you don't want to have more than about 4 to 5 hours between your pre and post-workout meals. So think about it like this. Your workout should be in a protein sandwich where you have protein on each side of the workout. The reason you've got that longer window, that 4 to 5 hours, and you don't necessarily need to eat right before and right after the workout, is because it takes a while for the amino acids from that meal to become available in your system for your muscles anyway. So there's not necessarily a rush, especially right before you train. What I want to do now is talk you through some scenarios so that you have a better idea for how this plays out in the real world. So first of all, one ideal situation might be if you had breakfast and then you trained 1.5 to 2 hours later, and then you ate lunch soon after training, aiming for about 30 grams of protein in both of those meals. Or another scenario could be eating lunch and then training mid to late afternoon and following up that training session with a high protein shake to hold you over until dinner. If you do train first thing in the morning, I'm going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But first of all, what I wanted to do is walk you through some of the nuances to all of this and where it starts to get confusing. So first of all, as we get older, our muscles don't respond to smaller doses of protein as well as they used to. So it could be that getting even slightly more than that 30 grams of protein per meal, up to about 40-45 grams, might be helpful. And then if you want to optimize it even further, you need to know that it's not just about protein quantity, it's about protein quality as well. And so there's something called a leucine threshold where you need to get 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal if you really want to optimize your results. And if you want to know more about the leucine threshold, you could check out Gabrielle Lyon's book, Forever Strong. Or you could look at my Mind and Muscle program where we really walk through optimizing your leucine so that you make sure you're getting the most out of your workout nutrition. And then another layer to all of this is that the research seems to suggest that for women, it may be better to get that post-workout meal quite soon after the workout. So around 30 to 45 minutes after a workout is often the recommended time for that post-workout meal. And there are a number of reasons for this, but one of the main reasons is that if we don't eat after training, cortisol stays elevated. So it's important to eat to drive that cortisol down and start that repair process for our muscles. And that makes sense anyway, because after a workout, your muscles are really primed to take up those nutrients and to start that repair and rebuilding process. So giving them a really good meal as soon as possible just makes sense. It's also going to help with things like your bone density, with immunity, and your overall hormone balance and energy for the rest of the day. Now, a couple of other things you're probably wondering about. First of all, carbs. Should these meals have carbs? And when it comes to the pre-workout meal, that can be a bit of a personal preference, but remember that carbs do help with energy, so they can be really useful, especially if you feel like you don't have the energy to push yourself hard in a workout. And then post-workout, it's a good idea to have some carbs in the meal, because that's going to really help with that repair process. And then the overall size of the meals is also going to depend on your individual daily calorie budget, because everybody is different. And it's going to also depend on when you have those meals. So the closer you eat to the workout, the smaller that meal can be. But if there's going to be a bigger gap between the meal and when you train, then you just want to make sure that that meal is big enough so that when you go to train a couple hours later, you have enough energy to fuel that workout. And the final thing I wanted to cover is the scenario where you get up first thing in the morning and you train without eating, because that's really common. And if that's working for you, that's fine. But if you want to optimize things, if you're concerned about preserving lean muscle mass, if your main goal is to actually build muscle, then it's probably important that you try to get something in before that workout so that some nutrients are in your system to help protect your muscle mass. And in that sense, you could do something like half a whey protein shake or some essential amino acids. And if you want a little bit of carbs as well, something like half a banana. Now, I know plenty of women who get really good results without eating anything before they train. So everybody's a little bit different, but if you want to optimize, it could be a good idea just to have a little bit of something. The bottom line in all of this is don't overcomplicate it. If something's working for you, then just stick with it. But to summarize what we went through today, first of all, your daily protein intake is the most important thing. Try to divide it up evenly, getting about 30 to 40 grams per meal. And then make sure you're fueling your workouts so you have enough energy to train hard. And then finally, that post-workout meal is really important for women. That likely should be within about 30 to 45 minutes after your workout, and make sure you get a really good solid portion of protein. Remember, if you want some help with all of this, to check out my programs and my meal plan over on femalefitnesssystems.com. My meal plan has plenty of simple high protein recipes that can really help you fill in the gaps if you aren't sure what to eat. So I'll link to all of that in the description of this video. And please do me a favor, if you found this video helpful, give it a like and leave me a comment, because that really helps my channel here on YouTube and I would appreciate it so much. Don't forget to subscribe so you catch future videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.